Hey everyone, Yukon Alley here. Welcome back. This is the second episode in my series of recap episodes, so that means it is the year 2017. That's the year I managed to finance a very shiny new piece of yellow metal for myself. We got on some better gold and we really let the dirt fly. So why don't we dig right into it? I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you who tuned in last week for my first episode in our recap series. Especially thank you to those who tuned into the live with me and had a chat while we were watching. To put myself out there, it was very personal, so I appreciate all of you being there with me to give me all those massive words of encouragement and such huge support. We've got some great views across YouTube, and I just say, you know, I could never do it without you. And I appreciate all of you, so cheers to you. At the end of 2016, you know, it was a nice feeling because there was some vindication there and we had found gold, so we're like, okay, we can come back. When we first got up into camp, it's always just you're unloading things and you're looking through your trailer to see if you'd had any visitors over the winter. We weren't in camp for an hour and what I thought was a wolf comes slinking up the road and just stopped right out, you know, 100 feet from my trailer and laid down. And I get Alan on the radio and I said, Alan, I think there's a wolf in camp. Alan comes roaring back and it was a husky. And this poor dog, you could see like his chest bones, he was almost starved to death. So immediately tearing through my groceries to find some hamburger and frozen vegetables and rice, and I just put it out there. So after we started feeding him and he was sticking around camp, so all of a sudden I had a guard dog and we named him Titan. And he was the most sweetest, beautiful little boy anybody could ever have the pleasure of as a companion, honestly. So that's how we got our Titan. So then the first thing to do was to buy a rock truck because I couldn't afford a bulldozer at that point. Those were just way out of reach. My finance guy, he had enough faith in me or saw, you know, that I had done okay. I didn't fall on my face the first year that he financed me for a rock truck. So off we went looking, and it always ends up like my best deals are at auctions. When I was able to bid on that rock truck and they said sold to my bidder number, oh, why do I cry in every I didn't realize that I was still so emotional about all these things that had happened in those first couple years, because it was just such a roller coaster. There was not knowing if we're gonna go bankrupt in 2 weeks or 1 month like everybody thought we would up there, or if you're gonna make it. And I'm not sponsored by any equipment companies. I don't have a TV deal. I don't get, you know, free welders or trucks or any of this. This is all on me. And you know what? I'm very proud of that. I was able to finance a water pump and a generator all in one. So yeah, we managed to get my shiny new rock truck up to Dawson, but there was no way anybody was gonna haul it out at that time of year, but I could drive it. So that's what we did. We had the guys drop it off on Hunker Road, and I hopped in it and off we went. And yeah, it was quite a trip. So here we were. I was pretty proud of myself. Yeah, I have all this equipment, but I also knew that at the end of last year, that pay streak that we were on was over. So the first thing to do when we got up there would be to find a new pay streak. But it doesn't normally end up that easy. The difference between what we are doing on our creek and what you might see on say reality shows, they're in this really wide valley and they're just churning out large swaths of the valley. We don't have that. Ours is a very narrow valley. And so it's good in the way that the pay streak can't get away from you because it's narrow. So you can follow it easily and with not a lot of cost, usually, as opposed to with the big, massive, you know, they have many bulldozers and they're just spending money like it's water out of a faucet. So we don't have that. Our problem comes in when you're in these narrow valleys. Normally the old timers were in there too, and a lot of times they got it. They might have left you a few pieces, like it depends if where they were, if the ground was thawed, they couldn't get that. Or say the bedrock was so big, they couldn't move it out of the way. And luckily, that's what we found in 2017. It was rocks the size of smart cars in our pay streak. Obviously, those old timers aren't gonna move those things from under the ground, so they went around it. So we had found this pay streak, and it allowed me the freedom to know that, okay, yes, I can pay for fuel. Yes, I can make my equipment payments. Yes, I can truck something else up, like parts, and be able to pay for it. It was a really good feeling. And I should have held on to that longer because the years after that were not so pretty. If you know anything about mining in the northern Yukon, you need a bulldozer because you're dealing with permafrost, and there is so many things that can do that an excavator can't. So I knew we had to do something, and luckily we had Art and Eldria, and we would just go do favors for each other. He didn't have as big of an excavator as we did, so we'd go up and strip a cut for him. What would have taken him probably 4 or 5 days took us 5 hours. So we'd do that for him, and he'd come down with his bulldozer and do what we needed to be done. And honestly, that's what reminds me of growing up on the farm in Saskatchewan, when everybody helped each other out. Like in any industry, in any business world, there are snakes and there are genuinely nice people. And luckily, I just happened to find genuinely nice people that were willing to help you out, not just because they want something out of it or not because we did, but because we could help each other and actually both succeed. Like, we made it easier for them, they made it easier for us. What is a better situation than that? Nothing in my mind. So the type of mining that we're doing, Alan and I call it hopscotch mining. The old creek beds wound like this, right? So nothing is ever straight. You have miners that were there before you, and whatever they did, what they mined out, you don't know. So you're hopscotching to the next spot. And that's why I made sure when we were buying something, it had to be on wheels so that we could move it easily and by ourselves. We wouldn't have to be beholden to someone to come out and move stuff for us, or for me to have the extra expense of trying to buy a semi and a trailer to move stuff on our own. And the Holy Roller was on wheels, so we were able to just chain onto that with the excavator. And so we could just move up the creek that way. So again, this is all about efficiency for us and not wasting your time, wasting your money, wasting your resources. You just move up to the next cut, sluice that, go again. When you do find, like we found, the old timers workings, I was excited about that at first because I didn't realize the significance, right? So we're digging and all this cribbing started coming up out of the dirt that we were, you know, bailing out to get down to the pay layer. And I'm like, wow, look at the notches in this wood. And Alan's sitting there going, aw, and I still not cluing in. The blonde hair must have been really shining that day. But I'm like, what's wrong? And he goes, they've been here. He goes, I don't know, we might have done all this work for nothing. And I'm like, oh, now I'm getting it. Okay, let's get sluicing. I want to see if they left us anything. So every 2 hours, I'm looking like, oh God, did they get it all? Did they get it all? And no, there was chunky bedrock. So yeah, I think I did that for maybe a day. Then I'm like, okay, we're good. Keep sluicing. Going from, 3 or 4 ounces a day to maybe 10 ounces a day if we were lucky and we were sluicing a lot of hours this year because of those big boulders and the old timers missed that spot. Now we were looking at 20, 30, 40 ounces a day, and all of a sudden, like, wow, you just had permagren until it stops. Hopscotch to the next spot and try again. This is great, we have the gold, but then what you don't realize, so you see these pans of gold and you think, oh wow, look how much gold you have. Well, you can pretty much take 70 to 80% of that and just take it away, just off the top. Like, the reality TV shows, they don't really explain the reality of the gold mining, placer mining. Placer gold is not pure. And some creeks are better than others, but our creek, that creek we were on, was about 72% pure gold, okay? You have 28% impurities, silver, lead, whatever. So that's a 28% cut right off the top. And then you have to pay a royalty to the guy who owns the ground that you're leasing from. Then you have to pay the gold buyer his cut. And then there's melt loss on top of that. So for us, we were lucky to walk away with 40% of the spot price of gold at that time, which I think was around $1,400 an ounce, I think. Don't quote me, I can't quite remember. So if you think about that, we're getting like $600 an ounce. And our fuel bills were massive, my payments were massive, my parts were massive. So yeah, the next time you see those huge pans of gold or those big cans, those big jars of gold on the TV shows, they might get to keep all of it, but we don't. What you see on TV is not really what you're always getting, and there are costs with everything. So that was 2017 in a nutshell. And I thought I was on top of the world, like, oh, I'm gonna be able to finance this, and I did that winter. So I really put my company out there and just went for broke. You're gonna have to tune in next week to see how close I actually came to doing just that. Oh, the life of a gold miner, I tell you. But I do want to thank you for hanging out with me and reliving my past into my gold mining history. Please let me know what you thought of this video. If there's anything else you'd like to hear about or any questions I can answer a little more fully, I will do my best to answer. And once again, everybody, may your beer be cold and your pans heavy. Cheers.